Good morning.
Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to An Honest Look.
Hey, good. Yes, and it is morning for me, so I'll say good morning, Fatí.
Me too. Good morning.
Yeah, right. Yeah. We're early risers this morning.
Are we?
Well, I mean, you've got the sun shining. I am just barely seeing the sun right now.
Right, right,
Yeah,
because it's a little bit earlier for
yeah,
you.
yeah,
Yeah, I got the sun shining right now. It wasn't half hour ago.
yeah.
It was raining all day.
Oh, does it? Oh,
Yeah, I
okay.
mean, in a fixed location, maybe it won't be the background you continue to see, but this is my home.
Yeah. So now you can say welcome home, eh?
Welcome home.
Yeah.
I have settled down, and oh boy, I have my things, all of them, and I kind of want to put them all back in storage.
Yeah. I out of sight, out of mind, eh? Mm.
Wow, yeah. I mean, moving is yeah, it's a whole other level of challenge. I haven't been through a move like this ever. I mean, I did with my family when my mom moved us, and I was the kid and didn't do
Yeah.
anything. But yeah, it's taking over my life. uh,
Literally,
it's
actually.
very
Yeah.
stressful. Yeah, I was thinking about that last night, how challenging it is. Like moving, everyone says one of the most stressful things that people go through. It's so true. So true. I I knew this intellectually, but now that I'm living it, it's like, wow, there's so many things that are like all over the place, right? You have no points of reference at all because everything is everywhere.
Well, not only that, but there's a lot of um, not only disconnect, but everything's sort of connected. Like it's a systems thing going on, right?
Right.
You do one thing here, and it affects something over here, and there's not only a ton of logistics, like prior to a move, during the move, and then after the move,
The post move.
the post move. There's the um, the roller coaster of emotions that goes through all those different cycles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
It's definitely like an opportunity.
Yeah,
This is the me after like I made some peace with some of the challenges I went through, with things being damaged, things not being in place, not finding my things, having to do. It's like it's a lot. It's a lot of stuff that you deal with, and then the frustration of all this stuff, right? But the stuff, that frustration, I'm like, you know what? That's actually like, once I got past that, like resistance and started doing and putting things away and purging,
mm.
once I get done with certain areas and I get done purging, I feel cleaner. Like it feels liberating. It feels freeing to get rid of stuff. And you don't realize how much, if you've lived somewhere for a long time, you don't realize, you think you're cleaning and you're purging along the way, but you do collect things. There were things in I open boxes where there's empty boxes in them. Like,
So you open boxes to find that they're empty boxes.
right, I didn't pack my stuff, so somebody else packed my stuff, and they
Yeah,
literally packed anything and everything. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
including like dirty
yeah,
dishes, stuff like
yeah.
that. Like, it's okay. Let's not go there. Not all moving companies are created equal. But the point that I was getting to was this thing that's been, just kind of I've been wanting to do, like I haven't had the time to do, of like purging and going through stuff. It's tedious and it's annoying, and no one loves to do it, right? But when you move, you're forced to do it because, you got to fit things now into different spaces, and you got to configure the space, and you always have too much stuff, right?
Well, not only that, but like you're saying, like, you look at an item and now you're looking at it from a different
Right.
perspective,
Right.
and you're saying, now, does this fit? Does this fit in my decor? Does this fit into, my lifestyle?
Right.
I haven't seen this for 3 years. Do I
Right.
still need it?
Right.
Um, and I like that because I've moved a few times, not for a long time, but I've come to realize, particularly this last few months of this year, how much, and we'll call it stuff. My wife might call it something different.
It could be between the S word or the
Exactly, or the day word, yeah.
or the J word.
But but it's, and she's right. She's absolutely right. Like, like I could argue, or and make my points, but a lot of things. One of my habits is attachment. So I look at a lot of different things, particularly things that my kids gave me or anything along those lines, and as sentimental. The unfortunate part is that I also put a lot of meaning into that sentimentality. And so it's like, if I get rid of this, what am I saying about myself? Or what am I saying? It's not what I'm saying so much of myself, but what will my kids think? and this is the funny part. My kids don't
even remember.
No, and one of the biggest things, they gave me quite a major gift when I was 60, and I just loved it, and I thought, wow, like that, what a gesture, right? And over the years, I used this thing, and but then it sort of sat in my driveway. It just, because of life changing, and I really had a hard time realizing that, I'm not using it, and it's just wearing out on its own. And the kids came to me at one time and he says, Dad, you do have permission to sell it, if you're not using it. And even then, with that permission, I found how hard it was to still let go. But I did. I made the conscious choice of going, they're right. And I know we were sharing little things. You talk about collecting stuff, like a physical thing, like we're talking about physical things, but there's something that we have been doing all our life, and that's the bullshit stuff that we store up here, right? That we turn into rules,
right?
About, well, I can't get rid of that because, and there goes the rule,
right?
And when I realized that, yeah, I'm really only hanging on to a memory. I'm only hanging on to, right? And maybe I can use the funds to get something that I'm actually going to use.
Right. Repurpose it.
Yeah.
And it's so I love that you're speaking to this, because that's one of the things I realized. I'm like, why do I even have this? Like, and I realized a lot of the times I was like, why do I even have this? It is attached to a memory. There's an emotional connection, but also inability to disconnect from the item, right? I know where that comes from for me. It's trauma as a kid.
Yeah, sure.
So I tend to just hold on to things, especially if there's an emotional attachment. But like, you realize as a parent, like, it's going to be a gazillion things that you're going to be emotionally attached to with your kids, right? And it's like, if you hold on to all of it, you're going to be buried under stuff, So one thing that was really good was that, like, I had this woman come and help me unpack, because I have over 100 boxes. And she calls herself the unpacking ninja. And unpacking ninja she was. She just started opening stuff. And now all of a sudden, all this stuff is everywhere, which is one of my biggest fears. Like, I like order. I don't like to see it. I like things put away.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I have an entire apartment that's no longer just boxes and stuff everywhere. It's like stuff, like little things and papers, like everywhere. Like I had to stop her because I was like, "There will not be any floor room to walk. This
Yeah.
is good enough for today.
Yeah.
Stop it! Stop! Stop opening boxes. Take a breather. You can go now." Like, oh, I've never seen anything like this. Like things were out of the box, and then
Yeah.
like she had them by the door, all stacked up. I'm like, oh my god, I can't. I would be like, no, no, and she was already like at the next box. Like she's like, you just, she's like, just let me do it. I know, like she's like, I know it's overwhelming, but now you see what you have and what you need to put away. I'm like, do I? I don't know where to look.
Well, that's interesting because from her perspective, right, she wants to see it all, right?
Right.
You know, and you had it nicely compartmentalized, one box at a time, you know, kind
That's
of.
what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
That
No,
wasn't quite working either because the boxes were not packed in a logical way.
well, yeah, logic. Yeah, that would be better for you to handle, right?
Right.
But it's interesting to note that you know the stressor that came up, like her mind, right? Let's get it all out there.
All out, yeah.
Now we can see what it looks like, and you're going, it's too much.
Yeah, I mean, I did stop her at some point because it was like literally like we won't have room to eat, and I've been fighting for like 2 weeks now to have at least 1 square inch where we can sit down and eat. So it's not being touched. Do not put anything there, and it's fine. I think the balance there was good because it was good to have it all out, but also I am glad that she didn't open it all. Like it was more like room centered to some extent, not totally, because like, you know, boxes were not labeled or labeled properly, so it's a mess. It's a huge mess, but to some extent really helped because I found my daughter's comforter, I found my vacuum, you know, things.
See, there we go. So there's some benefits to it, right?
There were some benefits to it, but yeah, at some point, you know, like, so now I could do another round, right? Because that stuff has been put away.
Yeah.
But yeah, so all of this to say, right, I want to sit here and talk about my move the whole time, but like,
no, but it really highlights things. It highlights things though.
Yeah.
Like, because what I'm pointing to is, even though we might label them as preferences, they are attached to belief systems.
Right. Everything is attached to a belief system. Everything.
Isn't that amazing?
System.
Yeah.
I mean, everything that we do is attached to, like, experiences create beliefs, right?
Yeah.
About a certain experience or a certain person or a certain situation, right?
Yeah.
So everything that we do, even holding on to things, like, I want to get rid of it because, you know, like, it's attached to a belief system, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or fear, right? Beliefs are like created out of feelings, right?
Yeah. Well, our fear of feelings.
Right. Fear,
yeah.
or like even joy, right? We create different kinds of beliefs. But it's like, oh, when I go, why am I doing this thing that, like, logically doesn't make sense? I don't need this object, but it's taking up space in my cabinet, and I've had it there for 15 years. Why am I doing this, right? Well, I'm doing this because this was this person's item. They gave it to me, and this thing. Okay. I'm not using it, just like you were saying. And it's taking up a lot of space. Like,
yeah. And so what's more important, right?
Right. What's more important? Like, well, let's go down the rabbit hole. What's making me so attached to this? And what's not allowing me to detach from it and give it away, right? So one thing that I found that worked was like, just let's repurpose this. Let's give it to someone who's actually going to use it, because an item that's meaningful to me and sits there and does nothing, it's a waste of that item, right? And this really worked wonders with my kids. If there are any parents listening, my daughter has a real hard time like saying no to gifts. I'm trying to talk them into no longer getting gazillion gifts for Christmas and for their birthdays. It's just so wasteful, you know, like, especially after seeing it all out.
Yes, yeah.
So that seeing it all out, when the unpacking ninja came, it was their room that she was unpacking. I saw on her face the overwhelm of seeing all this stuff that she has, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I helped her notice that even more.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, what do you think about Christmas this year? Do you think you need any more dolls? And she stared at like 100 dolls,
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's like, I like gifts, mommy. So we went back and forth a little bit. It's like, okay, fine. Maybe what else? Can you help me pick what else would make me happy instead? It's like, okay, let's do that. Because we don't need any more LOL dolls or Barbie or American dolls or their clothes or their shoes or their purses or their earrings. Please, let's stop this. I mean, for the first time, she agreed to that, which it's been like she would throw a tantrum if I even mentioned that. And my son, instead, has been like, more agreeable to that. He got an iPad instead of getting 30 gifts,
Mm-hmm.
last year. So I'm like, I'm not saying you can't get a gift, but let's get something that is really useful for you that you don't have, right? So there's some good things that are coming out of this really uncomfortable situation. And also what you were pointing to, like really questioning, right? Questioning, why am I doing this? Noticing, we talk about this, noticing, being present with this situation. I'm feeling overwhelmed. What's making me overwhelmed? All this stuff is making me overwhelmed. What about this is making me overwhelmed? Well, the fact that I have to manage it, find a place for it. So why do I even have all this stuff? Right? And like questioning that, like, why do we have all these things? Why do I have 40 jackets? Why do I have, like, why do I have to have a full set of serving plates or, whatever it is, like the noticing and the questioning, I think go really hand in hand, not just with something like this, right? Let's just move to different examples, right? Whenever even you're in a situation, in a relationship, in any, circumstance that you're dealing with, when you start really radically bringing yourself back to noticing how you feel, noticing your reactions to situations, right? When you read that barometer, right, if it doesn't feel, going back and questioning, why am I doing this? Where did this rule or this thing that I'm living by come from? Where was it formed? Is it even true?
Yeah.
Do I choose to believe this? And why am I even living by this? This is giving me anxiety, right? Like one prime example could be, this is the classic example, I gotta have kids by this age, right? So we don't realize that we've been conditioned with that belief.
Yeah.
And how often do you hear, I had kids with this person, I knew it wasn't the right person, but the clock was ticking.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
We end up making some really major life decisions based on a belief that, frankly, it's a bullshit belief.
Yeah. And I've noticed in the making of those, like going backwards and deconstructing, right? Deconstructing the belief, it's tied to, in a lot of my cases, about judgment and perceptions, right? So I'm managing a perception I have of a situation that I don't want to be judged on, or something along those lines. Because what does that mean if I'm not having kids by a certain age? Kind of thing. Like, how am I not able to fit in society?
No one wants me.
Yeah.
I will never find a husband.
All those things, right? All those which are extra layers of beliefs that overarch that, right? And it's a bit mind-boggling. And so, like, again, like as we accumulate physical stuff throughout our life, and innocently do it, because in the moment it looks, oh yeah, I need that. I need pink plates, whatever. And
Get rid of the white ones. Get the pink plates. Get rid of the white ones.
Right. And so at that moment, it looks real, right? 10, 15 years later, we're going, why do we have pink plates? You know, it's like, I don't even like pink plates. And we don't have pink plates here, but I'm just using that as an example. And it's sort of like when we realize that I'm holding on to a belief and you're wondering, like, what that might have been true 20 years ago, but yet I'm still hanging on to it for what, because of a habit. It's
Right.
Is it, and I love Byron Katie's questions, right? It's like, is it true? You know,
Is it really true?
is it really true? How would I know if it's actually true? Right. You know, and we've inherited so many different things, you know. It's interesting living with my dad, and he will say certain things and I'm going, like, why would I be doing that? Like, what? It doesn't make any sense, you know. You know, like having dinner at a certain time.
Oh, don't get me started on that. The Italians, this time you gotta sit down and have your lunch. It's only at this time, and it's got, it's like, you have appetizer, first course, second course, the salad, the dessert. It's like, why? I'm not hungry for all of that. Like, I don't need to do that. I don't want to run home, Mom, to do this every day at noon. Like, I want to have freedom with my time. I can grab something outside. That is something that's in my culture is really ingrained, by the way. Like, I'll grab something out. It's very recent that people will do it. But anyway, there's so many things like like when you start questioning them, it's like our entire lives are driven by bullshit rules.
Well, yeah, and not, I mean, it doesn't mean that we need to examine everything. I think the only thing that we really need to examine is the things that, like you highlighted, that are causing us stress and extra anxiety over, like what? Like, what are we doing here? And that's the key, because there's probably a lot of things, like a lot of people are going to question, our idea around having a meal time at a certain time. Some people live by that and like it, right? And if it works for you, that's great. But when it's a stressor, it's like, oh God, I got to get dinner on by 6. It's like, well, okay, why is 6 such an important number? Why is, and you start going through the whys, you start to realize, it doesn't really matter.
I'm not even hungry.
Well, that's even worse, isn't it? Like, why are we eating? We're not hungry.
Right. Well, there's so many. These are like small examples, but
yes,
there's really major examples that we could give. Going back to let's say, getting married. We must stay in the relationship for the rest of our lives. There's a prize to be given. Like, we are enlightened people if we were able to stay together 40 years. And that is definitely a generational belief that's been pushed forward forever, right? And you see people miserable together. It's like, there's nothing wrong with being together for 40 years if that still fits and it feels amazing, right? But to be together because we've been together and because that's what we do, because you don't break up and be miserable, you're wasting your life. You are wasting your life. I mean, to me, we don't realize that, people will go on to live miserable lives for the rest of their lives.
To hang on to, because
to hang on to a belief. It's a belief that drives you.
I would sooner die than change.
Yeah, to hang on to a relationship in this case that does not feed your soul, that makes you miserable. It's not the only reason, but oftentimes the main reason behind it is fear, and it's because I'm
what are you fearing?
Not supposed to, like, we're supposed to be together forever, even when it feels like crap.
So one of the things I'm hearing and just getting a bit of a hit on is this notion of, it's not so much the fear of letting go, it's the fear of what happens when I do let go, the fear of that unknown piece.
The fear of the unknown piece, but sometimes even just falling into it, like not even noticing our own misery. because we just already we made a decision already that this has to last forever. So I'm not even considering doing anything about this. I've done everything I could. Nothing changes, and I'm miserable. Mm-hmm. So I'm accepting my misery because I'm just supposed to be with this person for the rest of my life, right? This, what I'm talking about, doesn't happen, right? Often, like the person doesn't even realize they're doing this. They don't question the belief that I'm supposed to be with this person for the rest of my life. That's just, they took that, they put it away. This is how I'm going to run my life.
This is it. Yeah.
And then they blame the misery on, he's not changing, she's not changing, she doesn't do this, she doesn't do that. Only if, like, and we spend our lives in the what ifs and the blaming and the resentment and the anger and the fights and the misery, because there's one simple belief that we just took for truth, for absolute truth. Mm-hmm. We're not even, not that sometimes it's not the willingness, it's not that the willingness is not there. We just don't question anything, right? We don't do this exercise of looking at, why am I even doing this? Choose to be with this person forever, but what's the reason behind that?
It's like you're pointing to this notion of surrender, and surrender has to look like I'm giving up. Like I'm giving up on my future changing. So therefore, I will be just. I won't be happy, but I'll just live in my misery because
maybe it's bypassing it. It's God's plan,
Yes.
This is what I'm meant to do, right? Finding many reasons to justify the misery without really going to where the misery is coming from, which is like you're trying to fit yourself in a belief that doesn't fit your life, your situation, yourself. It doesn't.
And there's a clue. That's the clue. That's the clue, right? You're trying to take this round belief and stick it into your current square hole, kind of, right, of life, and you're struggling. And to me, that has become, and this is why I like, the fact that, I've done, work, and I've had, the workshops and various other things, and I've learned to be a skeptic. I've learned to question a lot of these different things, and to notice. And that's a key thing for me, is a skill of noticing, like noticing the feelings that are going on right now, and then questioning, okay, so what really is going on here? Where is the attachment? And can I let go of that attachment? And it's amazing. Like if even some of the smallest beliefs, like beliefs don't have to be big, huge, humongous things. They could be as simple as believing that a deck of cards has to be all neat and cornered. You can't have them mixed up. It could be as simple as that. Noticing how I have extra anxiety over a stack of cards that are not neatly put in place.
Yeah. Right? It's. I mean, when you start doing this exercise, it's insane.
Oh, it's insane how many you have. Oh,
yeah. Well, it's like our entire lives are run by that.
And that is key. Like if you really see that we are really running our lives through a multiple belief system.
We're the result of our belief system.
100%.
Our experience of life, what we are creating in life, is a result of our belief system. 100%. So to not question that is walking around and living unconsciously.
In denial.
And also very unconscious, right?
Well, yeah, totally.
Another thing that happens is, like, and we talk about this all the time, how the brain is automating behaviors, thoughts, right? So I made a decision about, something, and it fit my life. And now it's 20 years later. It's that decision has affected my life for these 20 years, but I never questioned it because 20 years ago I made that decision. Mm-hmm. But I never checked along the way if that decision was still the right decision for me.
No.
Right? So it's
like you can't, like, I love this. I forget who whether it's another Emerson quote or something, but you can't cross the same stream twice. Life is always changing in front of us. It's always moving, right? So even though you're going to the same supermarket, it's not the same supermarket that you were there last week. You know, like you can't have the same experience every time, and yet we think we can.
We love it. Because we can. It's predictable, right?
Yeah, we want it to be.
And and
life isn't predictable.
Right, life is unpredictable, and to some extent, doing this exercise of slowing down, because you cannot notice unless you slow down.
Yeah,
slowing down and noticing, and questioning. Right,
yes.
It's noticing. Now you're questioning what you noticed. Right. Can be uncomfortable. It can be a little extra work, can feel a little bit like I'm a skeptic, right?
But even that part, I mean, I don't find that part so much difficult, because it's neutral in the sense of, okay, I'm just observing. Taking it one little step further. Okay, so let's see what life would be like if we didn't have dinner at 6 o'clock every day.
Right.
Or whatever, pick whatever you want, right? Yeah. Like, run an experiment. I'm not saying you have to change everything in your life, but if there are things that are worth exploring, it's worth experimenting with, right? So try this on for yourself, and then continually notice, did anything change? Did your hair catch on fire? Did you did all of a sudden, the seas parted? Like what, did anything really happen? And then you realize, oh my God, nothing happened.
Nothing happened. And you know what? Like I said, the brain is running us instead of us running the
brain. Yeah.
The brain, right? Yeah. I think Joe Dispenza says the body's the mind.
Yeah.
Right. And we don't realize that the automation is prevailing. That's basically what it is. The automation, what the brain is automating in our lives is basically running our lives.
Yep.
So if we want to be the creators, if we want the ones that make the decision, then this pause, notice, question, right, is how we do that. That's how we take the reins, right?
Yep.
Being dragged around, right? Sometimes quite comfortably, so not necessarily dragged around, but allowing something else to just run us around, right? Through all these programs that automatically run, right? Where we drive, we're which streets we take, or, what time we eat, and, what we do on a Friday and what we do on a Monday. We all have to work 9 to 5, we're a little bit robots, right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
It's like that is the mind is running the show.
Yeah.
The mind is just doing repeat.
So
repeat feels like crap. It's time to change it. It's time to put new software in, time to put new command in. You can only do that by pausing, questioning, and rewiring, making new decisions, right? Reprogramming your life and your mind, right? And those things, they don't run as smoothly and just letting the loop run, right?
And it has to be continuous, because what I've noticed now, we've gone up post COVID now quite a ways, and
we're post COVID now.
Yes. Yeah, but what I appreciated, what COVID gave us an opportunity to reset. It stopped the world long enough for people to start questioning normals, right? So norms come from our beliefs of certain things. And, in the group I was with yesterday, and a few of my colleagues that I've been in touch with, it was interesting how the concept of home-based work was taboo. And all of a sudden, everybody's now was forced to work from home, right? So there was a lot of beliefs that were you know, technology advanced to support some of that. But what's interesting though is when the pressure was off, how some of those limiting beliefs from the past started to creep back in again.
Oh yeah, there's people that are fighting it.
Oh yeah,
You want to go back the way it was because I can control you more. I can have more control that
we
way.
need to get back to normal, right? It's sort of like, well, okay, let's define normal now. Like what do you mean normal, right? You can't cross the same stream twice, so we need to recreate a new normal, and it doesn't have to be anywhere.
Well, one of those normal rules, right, which is a freaking bullshit rule. I'm sorry. Is
and by the way, if you're listening to this podcast, we're doing air quotes constantly.
Say the word,
exactly.
You know, one of those rules is like, well, you know, you got to be in the office to work, and like if you know, working from home was such a taboo. I mean, especially in the city, and for someone like me as a single mom, like there are going to be days that would make such a big difference in my life.
Mm-hmm.
In the office 9 to 5 every day, right? And commute there, and like, you know, it will make such a big difference for me to be able to go to my kids' show or to be able to be at parent-teacher conferences and work from home that day, right? That makes a very big difference in people's lives. And when people had that experience, they were like, well, wait a minute, so I can work from home and still show up for my kid. I still put in my hours, I did my job, and now I can also be the kind of parent that I want to be, right? So that started dismantling a lot of these rules around must work 9 to 5 from the office and clock in, you know, like you cannot, you got to have childcare. No, there are other ways that we could set up our society, that we could set up our lives to where we could put a little more of our presence onto the things that really matter to us.
Yeah.
It's just, again, there are bullshit rules that we live by. We're like, oh, that's not possible. You can't work from home. Why would you work from home? You're not going to work if you're at home. You know, what else are you going to do? You're going to get up.
That's another belief. That's another layer of belief, right?
Right.
And I was reading in a book. The title started Insanity, and Common Sense. And they were talking about back in my day, back a few years ago, we had these theories around management. There was theory X and theory Y managers, and theory X managers are the ones that thought that you can't work from home because we need to control you. Like you need to be constantly given orders. We have to watch you.
I have to see you on the computer.
All those different things, right? And then theory Y managers were the ones that, no, we just need to, you know, nurture them, recognize them for their work. You know, that's how we motivate people. What was interesting in the study that they had was they could put those theory X managers and theory Y managers into the same work environment, into the same company. And that's what they would see. So theory X managers would see employees that needed to be constantly supervised. A theory Y manager could see those same employees and see them from a different perspective because they were holding on to two different belief systems. And so the company, the environment wasn't changing, but the beliefs that they were holding on to formed the experience that they were having with the employees. So like we point out towards, beliefs are running your life.
Yeah, because if you think that people are trying to get away with not working, then you're going to look for all the signs and the evidence that
absolutely, because you got to reinforce that belief,
and that's what you're going to reinforce, and that's how you're going to make people feel, and people are going to react to that, right? Yep. And now you have created discord, right? But if you believe that people just need to be encouraged and acknowledged, and you put trust into them, guess what? People respond to that.
And that'll be evidence for your...
People are willing to be, you know, like worthy of the trust and grateful for the recognition and are more willing to do things for you, right? I mean, it's very simple. But again, it's the belief system of the leader, right? Of the person that is managing the work environment, which is, it actually takes me to, we should talk about this sometime, how, we talk about impact and changing the world, what would change the world, and how can we all like have an impact in the world. Certainly, like having a broader reach is one way for as many people as possible to become more conscious and more aware and more self-aware, right? And show up differently in relationships and the way we relate to other people. But one place where I think we could make significant change is in leadership. Because if you can really retrain your leaders to be more conscious and show up differently, they have the ability and the power to change entire work cultures, right?
Yes.
Of however many people they are managing, right? And that is massive impact by just changing one to few people, right? Versus I gotta go and change 100 people that work in this environment. That is significant, can be significant. But if those people are up against a leader that's not there, then you're still not able to create the ripple effect that you will be able to create.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely correct. That's where it starts, right?
It's really important. Yeah,
two people know two people who know two people, kind of a thing. And when you get to the top of the core, right, and you realize that the leaders are actually setting the environment.
Absolutely, setting
right?
the tone. Yeah.
And they're setting the tone based on their beliefs. Now, the stronger you hold on to your beliefs, the less agility, the less adaptability that you have. Because you're not changing to the reality of what's happening, right? Look what happened to Kodak, and look what happened to a lot of these companies that, oh, yeah, that'll never happen. Digital, that's, the horse and buggy isn't around for now, kind of a thing, like various things that we can point to where decisions that people hung on to thinking on a certain belief that, okay, that's not going to last forever, kind of a thing. Right. And now with AI, oh my God, everybody's slapping AI in front of everything. Like you're seeing it everywhere, right? And whether there's actual artificial intelligence in there, who knows? I mean, when you program a program, to me, it's like artificial intelligence in its own sense, right? And I think it's been around longer than we thought. It's just now becoming.
Artificial intelligence, artificial displays of, like social media, it can be very artificial too. Oh, people selectively curating what they're posting. That's artificial. That's not.
And it's based on a belief of, right? And then we're taking that perception, like our view of what we're seeing, forming a belief around that, and especially in the coaching world, like, it's amazing, the personas that are put out there that are not necessarily true. And everything. I think being a skeptic is something that we don't teach much. We teach people to believe just about anything.
They follow the rules. What do you mean? Yeah. The opposite. Follow the rules.
Or the authority. Follow the authority.
How many times? Why do I need to do this, Mom? Because those are the rules.
Yeah, those. I don't. You've never said that, have you?
I'm being honest, probably. Yeah.
Hey,
I do catch myself on that.
Sure.
Like I'll say, like, those are Mommy's rules, and here is why.
Yeah.
That's it. But what I wasn't ever given the grace of was that the explanation. This is because I said so.
Yeah.
Because I said so. Okay. I mean, but that wasn't just like in my family unit. It was even in school.
Yeah.
I mean, let's not go down that rabbit hole, because That's a lot of the conditioning actually happens in school. I mean, my kids spend most of their time in school. That's where they're being, like they're forming their beliefs as well. And I notice that we talk about a lot of things. I'll be like, where did you hear that? Well, let's just look at it this way. This is also true. And you can make a decision about this. And also that means that I can just snack in class. There are certain rules that are in place.
Yeah.
So we can all respectfully share space together. So yes, there are going to be some rules that you're just going to have to obey by. And, like you can't take your shoes off and put your feet on the table. That you cannot do. Or you can't start screaming in a classroom when everybody's starting to, trying to listen, right? So there are certain rules that we have to follow because that helps us all get along, right? And be able to.
And that's part of it. That's part
Yeah.
of it, right? It is especially differences in culture. Like
Right.
when you're going from one culture experience to another one. I remember I was invited to an indigenous ceremony, and and worried about there are certain things that you have to be mindful around, right? Respecting elders and various other things. The same with some cultures don't like eye contact.
Mm.
And I it was funny, when I was coming up, learning leadership skills and things like that. One of the things that they were saying, to be bold is to look people in the eye, kind of a thing, right? Well, if I hung on to that belief that it was important for me to always have eye to eye contact with somebody, then that other person who believes that it's disrespectful to have eye contact, we're not going to connect.
Right.
So again, it's about adaptability. It's about understanding others, understanding. Like, I'm not saying that's a wrong belief for him to have, but it's something I need to be mindful around, right? And if if I'm invited for dinner and dinner says we eat at 6, I don't have to have my loosey beliefs around, well, who eats at
I'm
6?
not hungry. I'm just going to show up.
I'll show up at 6:30, kind of a thing.
I was going to say 9.
Or well, yeah, in Europe, it's like they eat late, right? And that was interesting to experience late dinners. Like, we went on a cruise earlier this spring, and a lot of it is European style, like in the sense of, like, you can eat. There's an early shift, but a lot of people were eating at 9 o'clock at night. Having full meals.
Yeah.
And then having entertainment till 1 a.m. and then falling asleep afterwards.
Sounds about right.
Sounds about right. And it's interesting to get out of that norm. And I think that's some of the things that's on offer, is to experience life differently, and not saying that you can't go back to your old rules if that's what you want, or you create new ones. Like, it is your life.
I mean, this notion of questioning beliefs is at the very, very, very base of how you're going to change your life.
Yeah.
So the bottom line is, whether you're listening to this and you're gaining something from it, or you're being triggered, it's likely that you came to listen to this because you're looking for some clarity, or you're trying to shift something in your life, or you're questioning some things, right? There is no way to change anything about you or your life unless you question things. Because change requires doing things differently than you've always done things.
You gotta. Einstein said it right. It's like the same thinking that got you here today. You want something different, can't be the same thinking.
It can't be the same thinking. So
the same beliefs you had can't be the same beliefs going forward.
Pretty basic. What we're saying is very, very basic. You gotta question everything, right? Yeah. And slowly start with small things, but the more you do it, the more you get used to it, and the more you start literally, it can sound like a radical statement to say you got to question everything. But why not?
Yeah, why not?
Why not question everything? Right? Because that too is a bullshit belief that we shouldn't be questioning things.
Well, even as simple
person that questions everything.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's just like,
or if you don't believe something, you're going to fall for everything, kind of a thing.
Right.
Like, yeah, no, there are beliefs but don't hold on to them.
And you might actually find that some beliefs you really believe and they serve you, and you want to hold on to them even stronger. You appreciate those beliefs for being there, right?
Sure.
So questioning everything doesn't mean you're going to just take everything and throw it away and change it. Yeah. It just means that you're going to be a lot more aware and conscious about where you do things, and like really examine whether or not you're consciously choosing to believe those beliefs, or you're just falling into a program.
So there you go, folks. You got your homework. You got your homework to the next episode. I would love to hear people's feedback on this one.
Yeah.
Right? Explore it. Like, look at your belief systems, and share it with us in the comments. You can email us, contact us. If you found this show valuable, I have. I mean, I've gotten.
We always do.
We always get something out of it, eh? It's sort of like, okay, I'm gonna go. Share and like it. Subscribe. Leave us a review. We're everywhere. We're very approachable. And as always,
share the love. Help us amplify our impact.
Thanks, Fatí. This is
Thank you, Rick.
You've given me a lot to think about now.
Really? That's
more to explore. And there's more to explore. Yeah. So, well, good luck with the rest of your unpacking.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that.
All right.
It took a lot of letting go of a lot of beliefs too.
I bet.
Get into more ease with it. I want to leave it at that.
Okay.
All right, everyone. Until next time.